Hello, everybody. I am Cryo Lane, and this is my lovely party starting off on a brand new campaign, the name of which is yet to be revealed. I am your DM for the day. I'm going to have fun. Haven't DM'd in so long. It's going to be an absolute shit show. I'm very excited. Can we all introduce ourselves, starting by the person on my screen, who will be to my immediate right, left, perspective. Kay!
Hello. My name is Kay. You also might know me as K-Meister. You probably don't know me, but hello. You just call me Kay.
Okay. To Kay's immediate side, Az.
I'm Oz, short for Ozeroff. That you also probably don't know me either, but yeah.
But he rocking a dope jacket.
UA.
Below me is the lady herself, Numoik.
Hello, my name is Ray, aka Numoik.
That was a fantastic introduction. The man behind me, the star of the show.
I assume you guys know me, considering I'm the one publishing this, but yeah, it's me, Glitch Streams Noah. What's up?
Fuck you! And last, but absolutely never least, especially right here where it counts the most, my main man, Dargans.
Yeah. Actually, I go by Ian, and most of you probably know me as Ian. And I'm super excited to be able to sit at the table with all you guys and play alongside of you. So,
Yay.
For context, Ian is our DM in our other campaign that we kind of do just on the side. So this is gonna be really fun.
I'm excited to see the differences in how we DM. It's exciting. I'm excited if I will ever face retribution in the other campaign for something I do to Twink in this campaign.
No, you leave those separate. You leave that at the table.
Okay, there you go. Leave it at the table. This is a majority homebrew campaign. Classes are taken, rules are taken, but the whole universe is brand new. So I will introduce us with a grand scope to begin with. We are going to begin our adventure in the world of Starloss. That is the name of the planet you are on. You are currently on the continent of Esp. It is the largest and primary continent on the planet and is currently home to two major powers. The one that you are in is the Stonekeeper Empire. The Stonekeeper Empire is thousands of years old. It was forged by a pact between dwarves and humans, and it has become the military and economic powerhouse of the entire planet. Everyone knows about the Empire, everyone fears or loves the Empire, and you're all in it. Unfortunately, about 6 months ago, there was a cataclysmic event now referred to as the Awakening, when a series of other, completely non-related adventurers happened to awaken an ancient evil and almost destroy the Empire and the entire world. And in retribution for that, the Empire has recently banded together to make any magic they don't approve of completely outlawed. They have listed any magical beings, creatures, peoples, or users who are not approved directly by the Emperor and his council as unreliables, and you can be arrested or killed on sight by both guardsmen and bounty hunters unleashed by the Empire. We are beginning specifically in the coastal city of Rayesti. Rayesti, about 100 years ago, became an amazing, flourishing capital of trade. The Empire has left it pretty much alone. They don't want to mess with the trade, they don't want to screw up their money, but it's getting to the point now, a few months into this new law, that they're going to have to start buckling down on it. It's the last safe place in the entire Empire for anyone who uses magic. We are starting very specifically in the mid-morning. The haze is finally wearing off, the sun is finally coming out. The city is a patch of old buildings and new buildings. All of the money flowing in the last century has made them start building things, but it still has that feel of an old fishing village that the locals don't want to let go of. We are starting in the Gull's Crook Inn, specifically in a bedroom on the second floor, where there is a very small gnome sitting on his bed that he got the night before. Ian, do you want to introduce and describe your character?
Yeah. I'm playing a gnome artificer named Twink Tensaker. He's going to be talking with an Irish accent because that's what he grew up knowing. He's a forest gnome. He's about 2 feet tall, slightly a little bit taller than 2 feet, and weighs about 30 pounds. He's in his young adult primary maturity, so he still looks quite young. However, he's 34 years old, and for gnomes that is young. However, for most people, it's not. So that's Twink. He's got auburnish red hair. He kind of combs it back with his hand backwards towards his left as well.
Does he get that kind of like slick 60s?
Sort of, but it goes backwards to the side, to the left as well.
Okay.
So it almost kind of swoops over the side. He's also got a beard, sort of. It's mostly just stubble. He tries to keep it trimmed down. So.
Okay, very nice. So, Twink, we are starting with you. You are in the room you rented the previous night. In this tavern, you arrived to the city very recently. What do you want to do?
Well, the first thing I want to do is head downstairs and try to get some food.
All right, so you head downstairs. You're immediately met by the horrific smell of cooking fish, and not well cooking fish. Like they're just throwing whatever they can on a fire. They're feeding dozens of sailors who have come in for midday and are planning to leave again in the afternoon once the sun has sort of settled a bit. It's busy, it's bustling. There are 2 people working the entire tavern in the lower half of the inn. What do you want to do?
Well, being as how Twink mostly has a Napoleon complex, he's going to try to get someone's attention. Hello! Hey! Down here!
You struggle for a few moments to get some attention. Everybody, they're busy with all of the sailors who are at this level, and you are at this level. So they're just like they're hearing shouting, but they are not connecting it.
Gotcha. I'm gonna look to one of the sailor lads, and I'm gonna give him a nice little punch to the kneecap, get his attention.
What the hell's a little runt like you doing underfoot?
Well, excuse me, sir, but I couldn't help but be attracted by your smell of salt.
I'm on the ocean all day, little hole digger. I smell like pride.
Well, will you do me a favor then, Mr. Pride?
Might as well.
Can you get the barkeep's attention for me? I'd like some food.
Oh, fuck that up. He just whistles loud as he can, and immediately a woman across the bar. You son of a bitch, I'll be with you when I'm ready! I don't think you're getting her attention immediately.
Yeah, I see that. Okay, bye!
So you separate. Unless you decide to do anything else, there is an empty table that has mishmashed, like, food and half-drunk tankards on it, but no one's sitting there.
Yeah, Twink's gonna go take a seat out. He's gonna kind of, like, take his arm. He's gonna, like, scoot the stuff to one side of the table. Nice little clean area in front of him.
Okay, the moment you get up in a seat and your head is clearly above table level, within about 15 seconds after that barmaid goes and shouts at that sailor, who shouts back at her, turns right to you. You're the one that got the room last night. What can I do for you? Breakfast, lunch, what do you need?
Not fish.
You're in a town on the side of the sea. Your options
I'm sure you've got something that's not fish.
I've got jerky.
Yeah. Do you see me? You think I don't eat jerky? Give me some jerky.
All right. She steps away to go get you jerky out of the back, but she's also getting orders for another couple of people. You're probably going to be alone for about 5 minutes.
It wouldn't be the first time.
You gonna try and do anything in those 5 minutes, or you just gonna wait for your jerky?
I'll be waiting.
While you are waiting for your jerky, we are going to cut upstairs to the room that was immediately adjacent to you, where stirring from his trance now is a high elf sorcerer who looks just a little worse for the wear. Noah, do you want to introduce your character?
Yeah, so I am playing a high elf sorcerer named Socrates in shoes. And Sox is, high elf who is very unfortunately cursed with lycanthropy. And so he used to be a professor at the Academy of High Magic before he was mugged and unfortunately kicked out for attacking. And so
What's he look like?
he is a little above, I believe I said 5'9"-ish. And, you know, again, looks a little worse for wear. Got about a permanent 5 o'clock shadow. He's got a little pair of glasses, and he's got short brown hair. More of a lean build than truly muscular, but at the same time, you can tell he's defined in a way. And he's also wearing a nice navy suit that is, well, it used to be nice. And so Sox rises and struggles for a little bit to catch his bearings. He's still very groggy, realizes all the noise going on downstairs, and sighs to himself and walks out of his room to head downstairs.
You head downstairs, you're met with the same chaotic scene that Twink was. There are soldiers and sailors everywhere. Everybody's eating. The smell is terrible. It's really lively in almost a pleasant way, but it's not exactly your cup of tea. You feel kind of gross looking at it.
And gross as he feels, he once again kind of sighs to himself and slinks around sort of the perimeter of the room to try and hunt down another waitress, possibly to get even food or just water, as he just arrived in the town not too long ago.
As you are slinking around the edge of the crowd to try and get the attention of a waitress, you get sort of close to the door that goes back into the kitchen, just as a brunette waitress bursts out of it with 2 tankards and a plate covered in jerky, and she almost bumps into you. Immediately just, "What are you doing? I don't have room for this!"
I'm sorry. I apologize, ma'am. I'm just trying.
Stop your sputtering! Do you want something, or are you just trying to get out?
Water and maybe some trout would be nice.
The only water we have here is salt water. Do you want something alcoholic, or do you want something light?
Light, please.
Find a seat. I'll find you with your light. And then she walks off with her tankards and her jerky. And you see her immediately basically toss the jerky down. It lands perfectly in front of this little gnome sitting at this table. And it is the only table that is not full of big burly sailors or guards at the moment.
Sox kind of shakes off the fact that there's a lot of chaos going on and walks over to that table, considering that it is probably the only place he could find a seat.
Sox walks up to you, Twink.
Can I help you?
Do you mind if I sit here?
Wait, say it with a little gusto, my friend.
Do you mind if I sit here?
Go ahead.
And Sox kind of slips into the seat next to him.
What's your name?
Socrates in shoes.
Sorry, what?
Socrates
Socrates.
in shoes.
And what?
In shoes.
Okay.
And what about yours?
You can call me Twink.
A pleasure, Twink, and he extends his hand.
And Twink goes to extend his, and it doesn't reach across the table to you.
He leans a little further and grabs his hand, shakes it.
There are 2 more empty seats at the table, but one of them has all of the tankards pushed over to that side of the table. Your options are dirty tabletop or not dirty tabletop. I feel like I should give you the option though.
I'm gonna hope it's the not dirty tabletop.
That's up to where you sit. That's up to where you sit.
I've already sat down at the same table as him.
Okay, you sat down at the
Yeah.
You sat down at the clean
Okay.
Alright, so the 2 of you sitting together in the tavern. Do you want to converse? Do you want to look around? Either of you want to do anything?
Yeah, I can't help but notice the ears there, friend.
I'm a high elf.
That's just real weird. You don't usually see your kind with this.
You know, everyone's got their genetics.
Yes, and yours is without that.
It is mighty strange, isn't it?
You making fun of me?
No, not at all. In fact,
Okay.
I love, and he looks Twink up and down to see just what he's wearing and like the general stature that he holds.
Your knowledge of the world, especially with your past in the Empire, Twink is clearly wearing gear that you recognize as being from a guild of artificers in the capital. But it seems sort of raggedy and worn, like he's been wearing it for like maybe a month.
And your gear, while maybe a little dirty, is beautiful.
Well, thank you. I made this myself.
It's quite a work.
I wish I could say the same for your clothing.
I would say I am a little worse for wear these days.
I think we all are.
So what brings you here?
Brings you here, friend.
What brings me here is being anywhere but here.
Doing a poor job.
I have my ways. I would be more than happy to get out of here at some point tonight.
Do share.
And he kind of leans closer to lower his voice. So, a friend of mine, I used to work at the Academy of High Magic before, well, you know. And he told me that there was a boat leaving this continent tonight. And so, if we were to get on that boat, and I assume you're also qualified like I am in the sense that we are unreliables. And so getting out of here would probably be in both of our best interests.
Did your friend give you a name of this boat?
Your friend did not give you a name of the boat. He told you specifically to look for Harmon.
Not so much the name of the boat, but the name of the captain. I'm looking for a Harmon.
Do you know where to find them?
I'd like to think myself quite resourceful once I get a little bit of food in my system, because I have found myself quite famished lately.
They brought me this big plate of jerky, and if you look at me, I'm not eating all of it.
And he kind of looks at the jerky and has to stop himself from almost salivating immediately. And he goes, I would be more than happy to help you with that, and then maybe we can seek Herman together.
I think that would be a grand plan.
Lovely.
All right, so you guys have officially set that plan in motion.
Officially.
I'd say so.
Fantastic. Then this is the perfect opportunity to cut to about 2 blocks over in an older part of town. There's a couple of ramshackle buildings, a lot of sidewalks, a lot of alleyways. It's not busy, but it's alive in the way that a small town would be. It doesn't feel anything like the closer to the city center that you two are at. And in one of those older buildings that seems sort of abandoned and ramshackled, there are 2 Aarakocra siblings who are planning what they're going to do with their day. Kay or Ray, which one of you wants to introduce yourself first?
Would you like to go first?
I can go first. So my character, his name is Dolus. He's an Aarakocra standing at 5'9", which is kind of tall for an Aarakocra. He is wearing a sort of just a plain kind of shirt, and he has a poncho over it with a kind of a red cravat coming out of the collar of his shirt, and over that he has a very large robe, kind of like a darker blue with obviously very dirty, raggedy, has patches on it. It's seen some better days. He wears a mask, a mask helmet thing that a lot of Aarakocras wear sometimes, and he has, and his wings and his whole Aarakocra species is that of a pigeon, and that is Dolus.
Ray, you up?
On the other hand, beside Dolus is a 4'9", 2-year-old Aarakocra girl. Her name is Lotus. She has light gray, and it kind of transitions into a greenish color of hair. She's also wearing like a mask / helmet over her face. Her attire is that of kind of like a red shirt type of like a vest, which kind of like goes out, sort of like a dress, with a tan colored shirt underneath, and she has a very cute pink bow over on her neck, similar to that of normal Aarakocras. She has pigeon wings, and they're light gray, and at the edge, the tips of her wings, they're a darker gray, and she has 2 dark gray stripes on her wings. Yeah.
Did you mention that she is also wearing a mask?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So Dolus and Lotus are wearing almost identical masks, custom fit. So the two of you are in this sort of abandoned building. There's dust everywhere. There was a fire in the fireplace last night, but it's just kind of embers and ash at this point. It's not quite cold anymore as the sun is starting to rise, but there's this real sort of salt water nip in the air that feels weird on your feathers. And you're just assessing what you're gonna do with the day.
Dolus.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning, Dolus.
Sleep well?
It's warm.
Well, now it is.
What should we do today?
Well, judging from what we heard last night, it doesn't seem like we can stay here much longer. So...
I guess so, but is there any way off of this island?
Well, it seems to be a lot of water around us, and we can
We could
go on
fly?
a boat. We could.
Oh.
We could do that. We could also go and get on a boat, because we don't know where the nearest landmass is.
A boat? What's a boat?
So, these humans and dwarves that live in this town, they can't fly. And so they have to get across the water somehow. And so they get in these large wood or metal structures, and possibly through some magic it doesn't fall into the water. I don't know the specifics, but it allows them to glide across the surface.
They can use magic too? That's really cool! I want to go on a boat!
We could. We have to find a boat that would allow people like us on it.
Well, if we're going out, do you want to play hide and seek around the town then?
We could, yes. That sounds like a
Lotus.
grand plan.
Lotus's wings kind of like shiver in excitement.
Well, let's play hide and seek. And so Dolus kind of stands up, and gets near like the door of the house and waits for Lotus.
Okay.
Lotus stands up and she skips over.
Dolus then kind of just gives her a little bit of a head pat, and while doing it, casts invisibility on Lotus.
Okay, so that's gonna burn a spell slot, and you are now concentrating on keeping Lotus invisible. It'll last for the next hour as long as nothing goes wrong.
Mm-hmm. And Dolus will then cast Disguise Self on himself, and make himself look. So his new appearance is a tiny bit shorter, just above 6 feet. Just shorter, sorry, taller, just above 6 feet. You can't see his wings. They are closer to his body as to not bump into things. And instead of his normal robe, he has a larger, thicker robe that has a lot of feathery accents on it. And so if you were to touch where his wings were, you would still feel feathers. And so, it doesn't interfere with that.
Okay. So in that moment, you're by the door. Lotus, you touch her. She turns invisible almost immediately. From her feet up to her head just suddenly vanishes. And the last thing you see is her excited little eyes peeking out from behind the mask as she just whoop into nothing. And then you go to cast the spell on yourself. And this is actually where we get the very first roll of the campaign, because while you're casting another spell while concentrating, I need you to take whatever your spell modifier is, and I need you to do a check. So for you, it's charisma, right?
I don't know.
Warlock.
Yeah.
Warlocks are charisma, if I'm remembering right.
So I need you to make a charisma check.
All right. Please. That's a 15.
That you pass. You are disguised, and Lotus is still invisible. There's a brief shimmer in the air as you cast the other spell, where you're sort of uncertain if you can do it for a second, but then it's all set.
And also, I didn't mention that in his new form, his hair is kind of shorter, almost looking like an undercut, and he has just the most generic, like, human face he could think of. And he just looks like a human.
Okay. Got it.
Shall we head out then? Let's go play hide and seek.
Okay.
And they walk out into the town.
Okay. So you step out. You're on a cobblestone road. There are some people walking by. Everybody's just sort of going about their day. Most of them are heading in the general direction of the harbor or the town center. None of them are really paying you any mind as far as they're aware. You're a vagrant who's walked out of an empty house.
Just, I guess, Dolus will start just walking down the street. He'll just whisper out loud, "Keep close," and just start walking down. You're just looking for anything that he can, like, spot, like anything out of the ordinary, heading towards kind of the docks where the boats are.
Lotus is going to follow immediately behind him, making sure that she gets out of the way of other people as to not bump into them.
Okay. So you're doing fine. It's not a really dense street, so both of you are able to avoid bumping into anybody or really interacting with anybody. After a few minutes of walking, you're going to come out on a main street, and it immediately gets more busy. There are shops running. Any shops that aren't running they're closed for the lunchtime, and everybody's heading out to either help sailors they know pull in their morning haul, or they're going to drink with the sailors for the noontime rush. So again, no one's paying attention to you, but the streets are a lot more packed now. There are shops, there's things to do. How do you want to react?
Could I make a perception check on, like, the docks to see if there are any if there are any unattended boats and what condition those are in? You wouldn't be able to see the docks too clearly from where you are. You can see them in the distance, but you're not going to be able to pick out specific boats. You can see, like, masts over some of the buildings, but a perception check wouldn't help you pick out if any. Dolus kind of just leans behind and was like, "Quite busy here, ain't it?"
Are those red shiny things over there that person has? Are those what? Apples?
There is a market stall nearby that is stocked with pomegranates, not apples.
I think it might be, says Dolus. I'm not quite sure.
Apples.
would you like an apple?
Yes.
Can Dolus will start moving towards the market stand, doing his absolute best to not bump into people.
Okay, that's fine. You get to the market stand just fine. It's not super busy. People like the fruit, but this time of day, it's not what they're in for. So most people are passing by. There's a really nice sort of middle in there, just trying to sell her pomegranates in a basket on her little cart. She sees you approach, and she's immediately just like, "Hello, sir! Can I interest you in a fruit?"
Yes, so Dolus kind of puts on a voice. Are these apples?
She looks at you. She looks at you for a second, like she definitely thinks you're fucking with her. Like she's like she thinks it's a prank by like a sailor or something, and then she realizes quickly that you're serious, and she's like, "Where do you come from that you think these are apples?"
Far away.
She has this like look of confusion, and she's like, "Well, I suppose if you're not from here, they might look like apples. These are pomegranates. You don't eat them like you'd eat an apple," she immediately interjects.
How would I eat a pomegranate?
She's like,
I will buy one.
You'll before you even know what to do.
I would like to try the pomegranate. If I buy a pomegranate, will you show me how to eat the pomegranate?
She's kind of looking at you sort of like concerned now. Like she's looking at you the way you'd look at a foreigner who comes up and speaks to you in a completely different language. She takes like a sort of a breath, and she's like, it's very slow right now. And you look like you could use a good meal and some help. So, takes a pomegranate, and she, with force that you are surprised by, whacks it with the palm of her hand and cracks it in half.
He's very surprised.
She opens it, and you see the interior of a pomegranate, as you would imagine, with all the seeds. Do you know what the seeds? Hang on, this is out of DM. Do you know what the seeds of a pomegranate are called?
No.
Arils.
Oh.
Well, I spent the last 3 minutes realizing I don't know how to eat a pomegranate either.
You don't know how to eat a pomegranate?
I've never had one.
Well, you snap it open, as the lady just did, and now I'm going to get back into character. And she goes, so you break it open, or you cut it open.
Oh.
And then you see, and she like points at all the seeds, and she gives you half.
He takes
and
it.
then she takes some of the seeds out, and she puts them in her mouth. And she kind of is like,
I see.
Not an apple!
It is not an apple. I appreciate the information.
And then, like, as soon as you're done saying you appreciate the information, she spits the seed out on the ground. Like, the seed after it's been, like, chewed off around it, like, right at your feet.
And Dolus kind of takes a step back, and he's like, what was that for?
She goes, no, you don't swallow the whole thing.
Oh.
You chew it till it doesn't taste good anymore, and then you spit it out.
I understand. Thank you.
Do you?
Yes. How much for this?
Looks at you for a second. She's like, I'm a little concerned about you. Let's just call it 10 copper, and I'm glad you learned how to eat a pomegranate.
Is this a good time to mention we don't know how much money we have?
No. That definitely would have been a good thing to mention
Before this.
But it also would have been a good thing if I remembered that I had to tell you before this. We're going to give everybody across the board, except for 2 characters. We're going to start you off with a max total of 20 gold, but you can chunk that into silver and copper this first session as you feel appropriate, and I'll do the math at the end of the session. The two characters who don't get it are Socks, who's going to get 10, and Lotus, who is going to get none, because Dolus has them.
Wait, so
She's 2.
okay. But so I still get 20?
You still get 20 gold total.
Right.
Just tell me how much copper you spend, and I'll do the math for change at the end of the session afterwards. We don't have to. That's math I should have done before we started this. It's too late now.
So he will. I mean, again, he gives the 10 copper,
Okay.
and then he kind of bows. He's like, "Thank you," and he walks away.
She stops you just as you turn to walk away. She goes, "You make me mighty uncomfortable, but are you okay? Do you need directions or a dictionary or food?"
You wouldn't. The only directions I would need would be away from here.
She goes, "Well, the only way away from here is to go towards the capital, unless you go north into the mountains. But then you'd either run into a weird village somewhere in the foothills, or freeze to death."
I was thinking more the water.
Oh! Well, the other option I was going to tell you was a boat. They leave all the time. Most of them don't take people. You can get a charter boat maybe once every few days.
A charter boat.
Yes.
I see.
I don't know if any are going tonight. I only come into town to sell my fruit.
Thank you for the information.
All right, goodbye, strange man. She just immediately starts eating the other half of her pomegranate, and she goes back to her stall.
Dolus will
nothing to do with it.
You go back around the corner, and into the alley that him and Lotus were in before. It's like, do you think I did well? Do you think I blended in?
You did very well. Very, very good.
I don't think they noticed.
Can I have some of this not apple?
Yes, you can have all of it. I don't know if I trust it.
And just when Dolus offers his hand out, the pomegranate just immediately gets swiped from his hand. It's just floating in the air.
Floats in.
And
Oh my gosh.
despite being invisible, she takes the mask off just a little bit, and then starts crunching.
Crunching.
Starts biting into the pomegranate.
Make sure you spit
Oh my
out
gosh.
the seeds. She said it's not good.
She's eating the seeds.
Okay.
Oh my god.
Sick later.
Gosh.
She spits out one, and just a pomegranate seed comes out from nowhere.
From nowhere. So Dolus is currently watching the insides of a pomegranate be ripped into nothingness until it is just the husk. And
Yes.
then it floats there for a second, even though all the seeds are gone. And then you see a tiny little teeth marks appearing in the skin of the pomegranate, almost questioningly.
No, don't bite into it. She said not to bite it like an apple.
But it tastes so good. It's so sweet. What'd she call it? A pomegranate?
Pomegranate.
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 A pomegranate.
Repeat after me. Pom.
Pom?
Eh.
A
Granite.
granite.
Pomegranate.
Pomegranate.
All right.
What are you gonna do now that you ate the pomegranate?
Once all of the fleshy bits are done, she just kind of drops it.
Okay. It's
Hey, don't litter. And then he kicks it to the side of the alley.
Don't litter immediately.
Well, so it seems that some boats do leave, but she said it was called a charting boat, I think. They take people. I don't know if they would take people like us, but I think that is something that we should look into.
Okay. Do you know where we would have to go?
Well, I would assume by the water. That's where most boats reside.
Yeah, okay, let's go.
You gonna set out back towards the harbor?
Yeah, towards the harbor.
So you step back out onto the main street, you start walking in the direction of the harbor. You get to like a small courtyard that clearly used to be the very city center, but is now kind of like a side thing now that bigger buildings have been built. And just as you're entering this courtyard, you hear frantic shouting from a man. Just, it's today! It's today! He's here today! He's here today! And he's panicking. You see this water ganassi go sprinting past you and jump up on the fountain in the middle of this courtyard. And he's like, it's over! We're all gonna die! And then we immediately now are going to cut to our final character on the outskirts of town about 20 or 30 minutes ago. Az, do you want to introduce your character?
Okay. So, my character's name is Kieran. I'm a warlock Aasimar, kind of like dark brown, kind of like messy, wavy hair, dark almond skin, wearing a very not even slightly inconspicuous pure white cloak, and you can see on the inside it's like a shimmering purple. The cloak like is form hiding, but I look around like 5'9", and for all like appearances I look fully human, but as I walk by, my eyes have like a slightly unnatural glimmer to them, and purple eyes, slightly unnatural glimmer, and I'm just walking along the streets. I'm not really looking at my surroundings. I'm just walking towards the center of town.
Okay, so as you're walking into town, you're passing by lots of guards who suddenly seem like they're in a rush. A lot of them seem like they're probably half drunk. They're acting almost like they got caught with their pants down or something. They're all in a panic. Everyone's in a rush. All of the people who are on the outskirts of town seem really jittery, and as you get closer to the center of town, it seems to sort of start mellowing out, almost like there's news in the center of town that hasn't gotten there yet. Everyone on the outskirts is starting to panic about something, but you are just walking past them into regular business.
And as I'm walking by, I just out of the corner, I'm not paying it much mind, but I just see like and hear the commotion, and I like look into my cloak a little bit, and you see peeking out its little head, a tiny little raven, and I just look at it like, reckon that has anything to do with it? Yeah, I don't know either. And I just keep walking. It's like, well, we'll find out when we get there. I just keep walking towards.
There you go. What is your passive perception?
13?
12.
I noticed.
You don't catch any of the details about what anyone is really muttering about. Like, you don't get specific sentences, but you hear a lot of people talking about some things earlier than expected. People are just not ready. Some people are scared. A few people, like a few of the guards, are talking about how they're ready to get to work, but you can't get any of the like idea of what's happening really from the air around you. Also, you're not really paying attention. You kind of just walk in. So you can tell they're all panicked about something they didn't expect to happen so soon, but you don't care, number one, and you don't catch anything specific, number two.
I'm like just talking into. Yeah, that doesn't really sound like a person. I reckon I'll know when I get there. And then just keep. I'm like walking towards the center of town. How far away?
How far
am I
we're
from this?
probably starting you pretty decently on the outskirts. So walking straight towards the harbor, towards the center of town, it's gonna take you about 15 minutes. If you don't want to do anything else but walk towards the center of town, then 15 minutes can just...
It's just me, and as I'm walking by, I pull out like a piece of bread from my little satchel, like my rations, and cast prestidigitation on it, just it like shimmers a little bit. I like at least have the force-sense to just keep it under my cloak as I cast prestidigitation, and I'm just beating my bird Siren.
Can you actually, because you're in bright daylight with lots of guards rushing around you, I'm gonna need you to make a sleight of hand roll on that one.
Yes.
To make sure nobody witnessed the sparkles of prestidigitation.
Ooh, 11.
11. Because no one's super focused on you, no one sees it explicitly, but you get the feeling that you were really close to getting spotted.
Maybe, it's kind of... And then just keep walking.
That way. So you get closer to the center of town, you start walking by shops, it starts to get busy, it starts to just become a normal town, no one's panicking, no one's doing anything. It feels like a really busy town, like there's nothing weird going on. You pass by some people selling fruit. There's a weird man talking to a woman and staring at a pomegranate like it's an alien.
That, I think that would catch my attention mainly because as I'm going through, I'm not really looking at the sights, but what I am more interested in is in weird people. So
Okay.
actually, can I as I'm going through look for weird people, like specifically people?
Make an investigation check. On that one.
Investigation check. That is a
You are looking for specific people and weird.
16.
What was that?
16.
16. You don't you see he's weird, but he doesn't strike you as weird in the sense of what you're looking for. The imagery you were given for who you're looking for in your mind's eye does not line up to this man who is now walking into an alley with a pomegranate.
Well, these city folk are kind of weird, aren't they? Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll know. Maybe I'll know when I get there. And keep walking.
You just keep walking. Okay, so you get into the same courtyard that was just described a little bit ago. There's a tavern, there's a blacksmith, there is a big, fishery market set up on one whole side of it that's just fish traps hanging up, and you see people, buying and trading and loading fish up. It's decently busy, but it is still, you can tell it's smaller than what you feel like the town would produce. Almost like it's dying out, but people prefer it because it feels a little more homey.
And I'm still just whispering to my little bird friend. Well, if there's people you need to look for, you look for where everybody has to go. And I try and look for just looking at the sign, see if I can find an inn or something where people I assume would congregate.
Okay, if you are looking at the signs, they're really obvious and easy to see. You're not going to make any kind of rolls on that one, because as you're looking at the signs, fish market doesn't have any signs, the blacksmith doesn't have any signs, they're just wonking away. But the inn catches your eye immediately because the painted and carved seagull on the side is exactly what you saw in a vision about a week ago.
I reckon that's where I gotta go. And just keep and march towards it.
Okay. So you walk into the inn. As described about 45 minutes ago, it's chaos. It's crazy. It's kind of mellowing down a bit now that everyone's gotten their food and everybody's just drinking and talking. It's still loud. It's still very smelly. But it doesn't feel like anyone's gonna get trampled anymore. And it feels like you can actually sort of look around.
I'll take a cursory glance of the whole room and look for either somebody who I think looks kind of especially weird or out of place, or if there's a corner of the room I can kind of saddle my way into and just slide in.
For this one, roll perception.
Roll perception.
So you're just taking in the whole scene.
That is a 15.
Most of them are human sailors. There are a few dwarves among the bunch. You see a couple of wood elves. You see a lizard man. You think you see a dark elf for a second, but it turns out that it is just a man who has a lot of oily goo on him. You don't want to read further into it, but you notice at a table in the back, there is one scruffy high elf and a gnome sitting there sharing a plate of jerky that elf is uncharacteristically ripping into.
Well, and I'm just like looking. Interesting people tend to have interesting stories or no other interesting. And I'll like trying not to be imposing or seem kind of threatening. I'll just like jovially like walk up to the table, like not trying to slink in, just being like brazen about walking towards them.
Okay, so like you walk up confidently, but you're not like inserting yourself into the table. Okay, what do you? Twink, Socks, you watch this man enter the tavern. You don't really notice him at first, but out of the corner of your eye, you'd probably spot the fact that he's just sort of standing there at the door looking at everybody, until suddenly he sees you and starts walking towards you. Not like with ill intent or with positive intent. He just seems really interested in coming over.
Socks is almost immediately on guard.
Okay. Okay.
Well, he's not readying any sort of attack or any sort of problematic behavior. He's just immediately a little tense, and he's kind of almost spun to completely face the person while still just scarfing down food and taking like a little bit and like putting it inside his messenger bag at his hip to offer it to some unseen companion inside the bag.
And I'm just like, hey, morning, folks. Is this seat taken? And I just like pull out the chair.
Well, seems you've already answered that question.
I suppose I have. And I'll just sit down, like relax.
You sit down, and
In
you can
front
no
of-
longer see the gnome over the piled high plates and tankards on the table that are right in front of him. You can see like the top of his head, but sitting down at that angle, it's not easy.
Yeah,
You can see the elf just fine.
Would I
So-
recognize that clothing as any sort of particular region?
You actually, with your extensive knowledge of the world, would immediately recognize that clothing style is from the southern wastes.
Okay. As long as it's not the Empire.
so how are y'all
because I
folks doing this
thought-
morning?
Doing quite
And
fine.
Sorry.
I'm
I can't
I'm
hear
looking
you
at
from
the-
over there.
and I just like raise my voice. How are y'all doing?
Well, it's the morning. I'm eating food.
I
quite
suppose it
fine
is.
myself. And he kind of like
Mm.
rips a chunk off of the jerky.
By the way, Socrates, where do you keep putting that jerky?
My stomach mostly.
Yes, your stomach.
Seems like you have a lot of stomach to spare.
You know, it takes quite a lot of energy to be a sorcerer.
Oh, you didn't tell me before. What exactly was it you studied?
During my time at High Magic, I would mostly teach wizards and other sorcerers the proper way to wield their magic, but I pride myself on my studies of other creatures, curses to be specific.
You're not some sort of necromancer, are you?
I wouldn't be that stupid.
Never
I was
know for sure.
I was mostly focused on the fact that this world is plagued with curses, and if I could find a way to allow them to be cured easier, maybe the world might be a better place.
What if
And
I told
this
you I knew a
conversation-
way?
I'm just asking. This conversation's happening like in front of me, right?
Yep, you're hearing all this.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
You're hearing
I
all
would,
this. They're basically
I would-
ignoring you while they're talking to each other.
I would perk up when I'm hearing about the part about being a professor, and I'll just lean in like, so Sox was it? You said you're a professor,
Socrates.
Socrates.
I was.
Would you happen to know a bit about maybe history? I've got some curiosities of my own.
History of what?
I'm not quite sure yet.
Well, if you don't know what you want me to remember, I can't exactly remember it. Now, can I?
I suppose you're right there.
You don't have anything specific.
Yeah, I don't.
You have vague quotes.
Mm-hmm. And I'll just lean back and watch. Well, mainly just watching Socrates. I don't think I can see Twink at all.
Especially if you lean back, you cannot see Twink.
And still just, I still have the bread.
Putting bread in your hood.
I'm just putting bread in my hood.
You two have anything to say about the dude who sat at your table and was putting bread in his hood?
I was still talking to Socrates.
Yeah, we have pretty much all but ignored him after that.
I said,
Right.
I actually stated something, I don't think you heard it. I said, what if I told you I knew of an item that could help with...
Yeah. Would you now? That would be amazing. I've searched most of the continent for any sort of things. I've even studied with the Dark Elves, but I've never really had a major breakthrough.
Well, I don't know much about it, but I know a man who does. My old guild master used to search for such.
And do you know where we could happen to find him?
Afraid not. Disappeared. Same time. Everything happened.
Minor correction there. I apologize. He told you he planned to go to Yubawa.
So, not a minor correction. I would not tell him I knew that.
Oh, I apologize.
I would not tell him I knew where he...
Well, now you're gonna have to roll for deception.
That's fine.
I'm like, at first I thought I'd made a mistake.
Nope, you're good. That is a 14.
I don't know, Socks is passive.
What passive?
Oh,
Passive insight
you failed that. Socks can tell you're lying to him.
for him.
Socks wants to keep pushing as he is very interested, and he goes, well, if you could think of any places where, you know, he might be, it would actually be very, very useful, not only to my research, but to someone I personally know.
Well, truth be told, he'll probably end up in the same locations we'll end up, so if I hear anything, I'll be sure to let you know.
Much appreciated. And we need to pause because we lost Ray again.
Your conversation is immediately interrupted before it can continue any further by a giant crying screams going on outside. You can't pick up all the details through the wall, but you're hearing shouting about dying and someone coming for us, and it sounds pretty end-of-the-worldy, holy shit, something's happening. All of the sailors immediately seem really tense. The whole mood immediately gets uncomfortable. Like everybody sort of knows something.
Twink's gonna take the rest of his jerky and he's gonna open up his bag and just kind of dump the plate in.
Stocks is gonna swipe one as it goes in.
Is Twink gonna try and prevent that at all?
It'll be there for later, Socrates. You don't have to eat it all right now.
You take a jerky, but he kind of makes you feel bad about it. Before you can react, as a few soldiers near the doors are getting up, the waitress, who was being kind of rude to you and was really busy earlier, suddenly comes up, and she slaps a piece of paper down And she goes, your tabs, probably best if you all be on your way. Good for business and good for your health.
Did I ever get my other stuff?
From upstairs?
No. I ordered something.
Your drink, you got your drink.
Okay.
Can I make an insight check on her?
Absolutely.
19 total.
Well, that absolutely works. You can tell that her statement is really... It seems almost like she's telling you to get out by the words, but she's very concerned for your well-being. She kind of slides the tab a little closer to you as she... and then she pats it again and goes, tell him Lorelei sent you. And she turns and walks back into the kitchen.
Okay, Twink's gonna grab the tab. How much was it?
The tab doesn't have any money on it. It has a single note on it, and I actually have to roll for a thing right now. Give me 1 second. I need a d6 for this. Why do I keep these in foam? What number is that? That's a 3. That means all it says on it is a name. It's just a series of words, but it's clearly the name of a ship. It's the Gem of the Horizon.
Oh, and in this moment, as I'm like hearing the shouts, can I look around and see? I had seen her come up, but did she come up to anybody else, or are the rest of the human sailors looking concerned in the same way?
So all of the sailors are either seemingly just sort of trying to ignore all the noise outside, or the ones close to the door are going to the door and the windows to look outside. She didn't approach anyone else. No one else approached her. She came to you, put that tab down in front of Socrates and Twink.
So Socrates kind of peers over at the tab itself and goes, well, I think we got the name of our ship.
Twink's gonna slide it over as he hops down off the chair, and he's gonna pat Socrates on kind of the side of the arm because he can't reach his shoulder, and he's gonna go, I think you should take care of this, as he puts his hands in his pockets and walks outside.
And he takes the paper, despite the fact that it just has the note, and goes, well, all right. And he kind of looks around to see if there's possibly any back entrance.
Roll perception.
Okie doke. Hey guys, first nat 1 of the fucking first nat 1.
Hey!
He closed his eye.
Couldn't be me.
Not combat. That's good.
I don't want to brag, but like,
So, with all the commotion going on outside and with how packed it is and the general fishy smoke that's in your eyes, you can't see shit other than the stairs that are clearly lit up and the front of the building, and anyone silhouetted by the front of the building.
Sox immediately gives up on his task and follows after Twink, trying to kind of stay hidden for the most part because he knows he does look strange.
Behind the gnome. Perfect.
Behind the gnome. Perfect disguise.
Hiding behind the gnome.
The high elf with the tall, pointy ears hiding behind the gnome. So, you guys step out into the courtyard. Kieran, are you also getting up and going out?
We just left him.
You just left him.
Having seen this like paper slam down, and then both of them kind of like leave immediately. Immediately I'd be on guard, thinking, well, they seem they gotta go somewhere quickly, and I'll try and like pull up my hood and try and trail after them. I want like this to be stealthy, kind of like just trailing off after them.
How stealthy are we talking? Are you trying to make it so they don't see you, or are you trying to make it so they're not concerned about you?
They don't see me. I'll wait till they get all the way to the door before standing up.
Okay, so you wait until they're almost out of sight, and then you get.
Yeah, I want a good distance between us. And
Okay,
just
I won't
pull out my hood and walk away.
I won't make you stealth check yet on that one, though. You approach. So, as you two step out of the inn into the courtyard, you see the scene that was sort of described earlier of the water genasi on the fountain with his arms in the air, shouting. He's screaming. He's got people around him. He's dressed like a sailor. He's dressed like he belongs here. And he's got people around him, other human sailors, trying to get him down off the fountain. He's got a few other races. There's maybe a half-orc. We've got a kobold. And then there's a dwarf, all trying to get him down off this fountain and calm him down. And it's not happening. He is irate. He suddenly screams out. He's like, we're all gonna die! They're coming for the unreliables! He goes, me! You! He points at the half-orc. He's like, we've lived here our whole lives, and now Atronon is here, and he's going to kill us! We're all going to die! And he breaks into tears as he's screaming. And the moment the name Atronon goes out, everyone in the courtyard is either shocked or panicked. Everyone is either leaving or just so shell-shocked by the name that they do not know how to react.
How much do I know about that name?
Oh, yay! I'm glad you asked, since you're the one who worked in the capital. Atronon is the leading holdmaster for the Imperial Armor. Army. Armor. I got off of work like 2 hours. Yeah. He is the leading holdmaster for the Imperial Army, which, in the structure, means he's higher than generals. Basically, the only person who he answers to is the Emperor himself.
Socks basically freezes in his tracks and, like, grabs Twink's shoulder and goes, that's a whole lot of not good if he is showing up.
Twink, while not directly familiar with Atronon, he probably never would have seen him. Being a part of a guild that was related to the Empire, would recognize the name.
Ew, you don't hear that name every day, do you?
And I was hoping we wouldn't hear it until ever.
Perhaps we should make our way to the harbor.
I think that might be best. And Socks kind of picks up the pace in making his way to the harbor.
Okay, so you both are sort of skirting around the crowd, but you noticed that as soon as the name got mentioned, all those people who were panicking were other people who you'd probably describe as unreliable. And they're all panicking to either run home or run to the harbor. So it's busy, it's a little chaotic. You're generally just having a bit of a struggle as you're walking around, and this is the point where I am going to swap back to Lotus and Dolus, where we left them with the guy screaming. So you just witnessed everything from the other side of the courtyard, and you don't recognize that name at all. You just recognize that the whole crowd immediately had a big deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
Who's astronaut?
I think it was Atronon. I don't really know. It doesn't seem like it's anything good.
There's a lot of people freaking out.
Yes, it is quite loud. He kind of like raises his voice a little. It seems as though the cue that the man gave us last night is coming a little earlier than he described.
Should we get going then?
I don't know where we would specifically. And then, so we're near the harbor now. Can I now make like a sort of perception checks or just look around, see if there's any boats unattended?
Make a perception check.
Okay. That is, I have with disadvantage. That's a nat 1. Cool.
Through the crowd, you can't see shit. Everything is so chaotic. You think you might actually be further away from the harbor than you thought you were. But you can't really tell. Also, for some reason, all of the screaming is really starting to make it hard to hear.
Mm-hmm. I don't know where we could really go. He's just like kind of like squinting through, not able to see anything.
I'll be right back. And Lotus, still invisible, she's going to take off. She's going to start flying into the air.
He kind of like feels the gust of wind, and he's like, "Don't be long."
When you look up and say "don't be long," you notice a few of the people in the crowd give you kind of a sideways glance. But then they're too busy with everything that's going on, and they kind of just leave you alone. Lotus, you flew up. How high did you fly? Number one, and what are you trying to do up there?
I want to get above all the houses and stuff. I want to get a clear view of what would be the harbor.
Okay, so you're a lot closer than you were when you were further up Main Street at the pomegranate stand. You're still a solid number of blocks away from the harbor, so probably wouldn't have been able to see anything from ground level. But you can see a lot of ships. It's filled. There's not a single dock that's empty in the entire harbor. Everybody who was out fishing in the morning came back for noontime, and now everyone's rushing back to the harbor. So you see like crowds of people seemingly for a lot of them it's still a city, but you see lots of little dots of people just seeming to rush in that general direction. And yeah, there's boats everywhere.
She's gonna do this over her mask, and then she's going to fly back down.
Okay.
Like, plop beside Dolus, and then she's gonna say, "There's a lot of people. I saw the ships."
Before you say that, actually, I would like you to make a stealth check, because you're invisible, and you were a small human-sized thing that just flumped
That's a
down
natural
onto the
20.
ground. Well, you are silent like an owl, despite being based on a pigeon. There is no noise, nothing at all. You land perfect. You don't even disturb the dirt. The absolute masterful reflexes of a monk lended you well to that perfect landing. No one noticed a damn thing.
Not even Dolus.
Even Dolus doesn't realize you landed.
Dolus! Dolus, there's a lot of people over there.
Yeah, I can see that.
From what I saw, all of the boats are filled. So, I don't know what that means for us.
Well, that's not good for us, from what I've gathered.
Yeah, probably not. But...
I appreciate it. And he kind of feels around for where she is. Like...
Puts her hands against his hands.
Okay. He's like, "Oh, that's not what I was... All right." He was trying to give her a head pat, but she just gave him like a high five.
Those same people who were giving you a side eye for speaking to the sky are now looking at you more concerned because you're pawing at the air. Everyone's a little concerned. There's a guard, like a lone guard, still at the edge of the square, who's just like, "What the fuck?"
He pays them no attention. It's like, well, I mean, it seems our only option is to head towards the water.
Okay.
And hope.
Okay.
And so kind of they start
heading towards, following the general flow towards the harbor. Okay. Kieran, after following them out of the tavern, you waited for them to walk again, and so they're still at the edge of your sight at this moment. What are you gonna do?
And like seeing all of these people like driving by, I'll like look into my hood. I reckon this seems like a sign, if anything. And I'll like ask my little raven friend Siren to fly up into the air and just keep an eye on those two. I want to see where they're headed, because
No, finish.
Oh, I
I'm
was
sorry.
just talking to the bird. Because interesting people in a seagull inn. I'm not privy to how Nobelia works, but if that's a sign, that's a sign. And I'll just ask her to stay overhead of the two we met earlier.
Okay. So your familiar flies above the city. Everything's pretty calm up there in the skies. The winds coming off the sea are really nice. She is able to track them just fine. She sees them heading in the direction of the harbor with real intent. It's like they know where they're going, and they're going.
And I'll keep an eye on her in the sky and just follow along.
Okay. So we follow after them.
And since I have her up there, I can afford to distance
You
myself a bit more.
Okay, yeah. You get a bit more distance as long as you stay, because you have to stay within 100 feet of your familiar for her to talk to you. Okay. So you're probably a solid, 150 feet behind them now, because she's gliding a bit behind them. But you get an idea of where they are in the crowd.
Gotta do trigonometry to try and 100 here, 100 there.
Is there anything specific you want to do as you're following them? Is there anything you're doing?
I'm just I want to keep an eye out because I had heard this shouting and seeing people drive by. I still just want to keep an eye on the crowd. I don't think I know what I'm looking for, but I'm passively scanning the crowd in hopes that I will see something that gives me a ding.
Okay. There's lots of strange people all running to the harbor. Other than the two who you're now specifically looking at, you're not picking up anything other than half the city feels uncomfortable and the other half is panic.
So I'll just continue following them.
Okay, cool. Lotus and Dolus, you are also following, right? And in that general direction?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, in that case, we're going to pop back to Twink and Socks. What are you two doing on the way to the harbor? Conversation? Are you taking side routes? What's going on?
So, Socks, now realizing that he's in a bit of a situation now, realizes he hasn't really fully found his trust in Twink yet. And so his method of seeing how he can trust him is to kind of lean down and he leans down and kind of goes, are you sure that this is the method you want to go with? I don't want to. And as he takes a breath, he kind of sniffs him a little bit. And I want to roll insight on him. Just as
I'm gonna roll insight on what he smells like.
I like it. That's awesome.
Yes.
I like that.
Fucking do it.
All right.
Send it, boy.
And that is what we call...
You do not one.
No, it's a 25.
Oh!
17. It was 17 naturally.
I forget you have proficiency in that shit.
Nope. That is just plus 5.
Oh, no, that's just... Oh, god damn. Okay. Well, so... your very keen senses immediately pick up that Twink ain't a bad guy. He don't mean you no harm. He's just a little gnome. And he also does smell weirdly, however, of some brassy magic that you are not familiar with, but the scent reminds you of someone.
And so, Socrates finishes the sentence and he's like, are you sure you want to go this route? I'm not really sure what it entails, and I wouldn't want to put a good man like you in a potentially precarious situation.
I'll be quite honest with you, Socrates. What else would I do? You got another option?
Not to my knowledge.
I think you just answered it for both of us, didn't you?
Quite all right, then. Let's go find Herman. Let's go find the Gem of the Horizon. And let's get the hell out of here.
Maybe keep the name to ourselves, okay? You don't know who might be...
Right. And I assume they just continue. They continue on their path to try and...
Yep. So, as you get to the harbor, the closer you get, the more you suddenly understand that this is a major trade city. The buildings get bigger. They start having metal accents. There starts to be sweeping architecture. They go from maybe 2 stories tall max to 5 stories tall. There are little like wooden cranes swinging over and doing everything. And then as you step out into the harbor area, there are a fleet's worth of trading and fishing ships just absolutely littering any droplet of water they can. It seems almost like the ships have started to outgrow the harbor. The number of masts as you look out at the horizon is reminiscent of a forest. And it's a little chaotic right now, the same way the rest of the city is. A lot of it's just sailors trying to throw all their nets and ropes back on the ship so they can get back out to sea and act like nothing's happening. But a fair number of it is panicked unreliables who seeming to try and find any ship that will take them.
Socrates.
Go ahead.
I don't think we're going to make much headway just looking for the name of the ship.
I don't think we will either.
Think.
What do you think?
I think there should be some sort of record of where each ship is. If we can find the harbor master, perhaps we can figure out a better way to find the ship.
Right. And Sox is going... Can I look for where the harbor master's, like, building?
Okay. Yeah, no, you can do that. Roll perception.
That is... So, 20.
So that's a dirty 20.
30-20.
Okay. Well, you are very easily able to pick out where the harbor master's office is. It's a building that is separate from the rest of the waterfront, almost as if it was built with the intent to sort of eke its way onto the water. And it's got this upper deck that kind of looks out at the massive cluster of ships. And it's got all the signs of official empire-like business happening.
And Socrates points over to the building and goes, I think that is where we might find our dockmaster.
I'm going to be honest with you, Socrates. I can't see where you're pointing, but I'm going to trust you.
Just follow me. And he starts walking toward where the harbor master's building would be.
As you approach the harbor master's building, you realize that the door has 2 heavily armored Imperial guards on either side of it. And they aren't doing anything. They're just standing guard. But they're there.
Well, I'll be honest with you here, Twink. I don't think they'll be quite too friendly to us. But would you like to talk to them or take a bit messier means?
You see, I'm not the talking type.
Quite all right, then. Would you care to distract? Or would you care to be the one who sneaks on in there?
Yeah, I have to pass on both of those, I think.
Well then, I have an idea. And so Socrates will cast Minor Illusion a little bit behind, like, kind of around the door to the other side, out of sight, to create a scream of panic, like, not necessarily panic, but almost as if someone was being attacked.
Okay. That works. Immediately, there is a blood-piercing scream just around the corner from the harbor master's office and into an alleyway. The guards are startled. Everyone around it is startled. Everyone kind of looks at it and shies away from the alley. One of the guards slaps the other on the shoulder and says, "It's your turn. It's your turn." Other guard goes, "Ugh," and he walks off in the direction of the alleyway to go investigate the sound. There's still one guard at the door.
Twink saying what Socrates did is going to cast minor illusion in the other direction with the same, but a deeper pitch scream coming from the other direction of the other guard.
So on the other side of the Harbor Master's Tower, which is
Right.
the docks and the ships, up on
Right.
one of the random ships, you just hear, "Ah!" like this and this other guard, now shocked, even more, goes, every fucking Wednesday, and he walks off onto the docks very angrily. The door is clear.
I like your style there, Twink.
Well, you did say you had a way, and I trusted it. I followed right behind you.
Now, let's move along before they figure out what we did. And
I doubt they'll say me anyways.
Yeah, they walk up to the door, and
So the door is like an archway. It's not like a closed door. Anyone can just walk into this building. But the first level is just like books and boxes. There's a little spiral staircase that goes up into the office level.
so they walk in, I assume, and Socrates goes, best idea would probably be up there. We may not be welcome, but it also might be our best idea.
Yeah, can't hurt to ask.
And so they go up the stairs.
So you go up the stairs, and the moment you start coming up the stairs, there's a guy sitting in a chair looking out at the window at the harbor. He just looks so tired. Even from just what you see of the back of him. He's got on like empirical gear that clearly is not fit for him. He seems like he was kind of just put there. He goes, what was the screaming this time? And he turns around and he sees a high elf and a gnome. And he goes, well, you're not Bombadil.
I promise nothing's happened to them. They went to go try and deal with some of the riffraff. If we could ask a favor, though.
Certainly?
Could you tell us where we could find the Gem of the Horizon, and then we'll be right out of your hair?
He just shoots up out of the chair the moment you mention the name. The moment you say that name, he shoots up, he points at you, he says, you never say that name out loud in front of someone wearing this. And points at the empirical armor.
And Socrates kind of corrects himself and goes, I can quite tell that you don't exactly like this. And he gestures at his armor, and goes, I know what I could take the assumption. I've been around quite a while, and I can tell someone who hates his job.
So the harbor master is like, look, I've had this job my whole life. I have spent 30 years sitting in this tower, watching people come, go, and no one causing no trouble. And then suddenly the whole world shakes, and I have half a dozen of people I see every day who I'm supposed to report to an executioner. No, I don't like this. I don't even normally wear this. They didn't have a dress code before.
Can I make an insight check?
Go right ahead.
It's a 17 total.
He's telling the truth. He seems very upset. He also seems very upset that you're in the room. He seems just generally pissed off.
Socrates, trying to disarm the situation, kind of reaches his hands out, not in any sort of way to gesture to anything, but more just like to keep a little bit of a gap between them.
He immediately is like, keep your hands down, elf.
And he puts his hands back behind his back and goes, we're not trying to harm anybody. I was a professor at the Academy of High Magic.
And look at that. Look at where that got you.
We're not trying to do any harm. If you can tell us where the boat is,
goes,
we'll be out of your hair.
He just kind of groans and he's like, the Gem of the Horizon is what the smugglers call it. It's a secret name. for smuggling things. It's like, what they call it officially is the fog slip.
Much appreciated.
He's like, but if you go up to the captain saying you want to charter the fog slip, he's gonna tell you to fuck off.
And I assume the captain of this ship would be named Herman.
Harmon.
Harmon. Right.
And he goes, look, I ain't got anything against pointy ears or, like gestures down at Twink. He goes, whatever the fuck you are. He's like, I've seen all sorts coming in. I would like to see you go out of here so my job doesn't have to get any more complicated. So if I see you tomorrow, I won't be so nice.
Well, sir, could you tell us where the fog slip might be docked?
He goes over to the window. He goes, the last long dock on the south. All the way on the end. You
Sir,
can't miss it.
I can't see out that window, sir.
He turns specifically to Socks and goes, the last long dock on the harbor to the south.
Thank you, sir. I apologize for inconveniencing you.
Get the fuck out of my office. Sits down, his head back.
And Socks is almost taken aback because, he is, for the most part, a passive person. And he just kind of his posture that he kind of perked up when he wanted to speak to the quartermaster immediately goes back to like a half slouch. Not necessarily sad, but more just like he dropped whatever face he was trying to hold up during that, and turns to Twink and goes, we have a location. Best not waste any time.
As Socks walks out, Twink's gonna turn back to the harbor master. If you don't like wearing the armor, then don't. Choice you make every day. And then he walks out.
Woo! That was a good one. So, Kieran, the last thing you would have seen is you would have gotten to the edge of the harbor, that same view I described to them earlier with all of the masts, right about the time your familiar watched them walk into the harbor master tower. So, yeah. You know they're in there, but you don't know what's going on now.
I want to grab, specifically, a person who looks like an unreliable. I want to just, saddle up to them and can I find anybody like that who doesn't seem like they're rushing about, but is, definitely panicked, but still enough that I can kind of have a conversation?
You got a big, burly, half-orc sailor walking past you, and you catch him by the arm. He immediately, as you grab him, he's like, "What are you doing? What's your problem?" He's afraid. He's like, "What's your deal?" This big dude, 2 feet taller than you, and he's scared.
As a fellow, let's say, untrustworthy person, do you know where I would reckon to if I needed to skedaddle, where I would go?
New York kind of looks at you and he goes, "Are you trying to say you're an unreliable?"
Yeah.
He looks you up and down and he goes, "But you're just a man."
Can I use prestidigitation to just in our area, just create a puff of cherry, just a scent of cherry.
Puff of cherry. Okay. You use prestidigitation, and suddenly it smells like cherry. The half orc did not register that any magic happened. It just smells like cherry now. I don't know what you wanted from a smell. It just smells. It's a harbor. It smells like lots of things all the time, mostly fish. I'm like, but it's not magical to smell something different once in a while.
Yeah, well, let's see. Let's say magic comes in forms that I maybe don't look, but unreliable the same.
He goes, so what do you want? To leave? To hide? To...
I don't think staying here is gonna do me any good.
It's like, well, you look normal enough. You could probably ditch the snazzy outfit and a weird cologne, and no one would give you a look over.
I can run for a while, but say I need to run alongside.
You're a confusing little human, you know that.
Maybe not the last. Confusing, definitely. Maybe not the last bit.
He kind of gets this look in his eye. He goes, so you want to ship out?
Yeah, I want to ship out to get shipped out.
Takes a moment, and he kind of nods for a second. He goes, my name's Rook.
Kieran.
I'm getting on a ship out. If you want on the ship out, I can get you on the ship out.
I
But
appreciate it.
if you fuck me, I'll crush your head.
And I let you.
He just sort of nods, and he's like, all right, you're not that intimidating.
I'm not a very strong man. I'm saying I'm not.
I'm
Yeah,
just processing.
Yeah.
So Rook walks off. Basically, just like, if you want to follow him, you can follow him, but he's
And
going where he was going.
I just saddle along. And I'm assuming at this point, Siren has come back to me, like, after
Did you want her to come back?
Yeah, after
Okay.
she saw. It's just like,
Yeah, no, she would fly down.
wherever trouble gathers.
At about the
trouble.
point that Kieran starts walking away through the harbor, and it's about the same time that Socrates and Twink are coming out of the Harbor Master Tower, and at that nearby street entrance is where we are going to switch back to Lotus and Dolus, who have made it to the harbor. Well, Dolus and a ghost.
There's so many people.
Yep, more than earlier somehow. They all seem to be going down. These ships here immediately are definitely not either for us or they don't have room. We should probably start going along, seeing if there's any ships full of people like us.
I haven't seen anybody with, wings so far. I've seen people with pointy ears. They're really cool.
Yes, when I say people like us, it means more people who are not like them.
Oh, okay.
Okay. This is the moment where you would see Socrates and Twink stepping out of the tower, because it's there in the middle of all the action. So
There's a pointy-eared fellow over there.
As they exit, Socrates kind of turns to Twink and goes, and that fellow in the white robe, I don't trust him, and for all we know, he could be someone looking for us, people like us. So if we see him again, I reckon we don't see him again.
Don't see what it could hurt talking to the man.
As you said, you don't know who you can trust. And he asked me
But if
about-
it's someone that you can trust, you just want to throw it away?
It's not often that somebody looks for me and immediately asks me about history that they don't know about. That is, easiest way to say, a bit of a leading question.
But if he was looking for you, without a question, it wouldn't be someone looking for you for bad reasons.
One can hope. Something about his air coming toward us didn't sit right with me.
Yeah, you do kind of smell funny. Maybe that's it.
And Socks kind of goes, "Do I?" And he just kind of like
The air around Socks smells vaguely of ocean water and wet dog.
That's exactly how I imagined it.
And then Socks,
You ever take a golden retriever to the beach? That's it.
and Socks just kind of goes, "I suppose you're right." And he opens his bag real quick to check on the small blonde kitten inside his messenger bag. And he looks in and goes, "You doing all right, Shoes?"
The bag is at eye level.
I'm about to say that has to be at eye level with me.
Yeah. So the moment the kitten peeks its head up at all, you're like eye contact with this tiny cat.
Oh, hello there. What's your name?
This is Shoes.
I was
She-
asking it.
I don't
By the way,
believe she can
Twink
talk.
is a forest gnome, so he can talk to small creatures.
Oh,
Yes, he can. Yes.
I can't wait for Cryo's
just
cat
for
voice.
just for a note, Shoes is a girl.
Can you ask the question again? I was hoping you wouldn't do that.
Cryo, just for a
Hello there,
note,
what's
Shoes
your
is a
name?
girl and probably about a 3-month-old kitten.
You ask how the kitten is doing, and it just kind of looks up at you with the big eyes and goes, "Food." And that's it. It just says food and looks at you.
Reach into my bag of holding, and I pull out my a strip of jerky. And I
You
just
hold
take
it
a little
over.
piece of it. Just
and
take a little piece.
The eyes like shimmer in excitement, and it jumps up and it grabs the whole thing of jerky and it yoinks it back into the bag. And then you hear the teeniest, tiniest little nap.
Well, I think it's ready for you to close it up and let it sleep.
I do want to correct myself. She's a 6-month-old kitten. And
A kitten,
And he-
nonetheless.
yeah, he closes his bag and goes, "You can talk to her."
Well, yes.
I'll be damned then. I just hear meows and assume that she wants food or attention.
You know it's wrong half the time.
Fair enough. You've got a good
Lotus
heart.
Can see them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Lotus can see them. Lotus, let me check one thing real quick now that I'm thinking about it, actually. Okay, no. Yeah, so Lotus just sees them. She sees them fumbling with something in the bag. She can't make out a
Invisible
kitten.
Lotus sees the tall, pointy ear
Mhm.
in this very short man, and she kind of like taps on Dola slightly. It's like, look, he has pointy ears, and the other man is really, really small.
Wow, it seems there's a man and his child over there.
You've never seen a gnome! They've
Nope.
never
It's
seen
a bearded
gnome!
child.
But he has hair on his chin.
Yeah, takes after his father, it seems.
You would recognize what a beard is because Raiden would have had one.
Ah, okay. He has a beard like Raiden.
Wow, yes, they both do. And he says then, oh, he takes after his father.
Okay.
Lotus is going to invisible Lotus is going to walk over to them.
Oh my god.
Dolus is just like he wouldn't.
This is where I want to pull my identify something within, I believe it is 15 feet of me through sound and smell.
So, I'm gonna call you on that one right now. You're in a busy harbor. By smell and sound, you would not notice one small person walking near you. You can't pinpoint location. You would know there is another person near you. You have no idea what, who, or where.
Okay.
As she walks away, Dolus is just like, so should we continue on? And doesn't hear a response, and he's just like,
Oh, fuck.
he just starts, and starts walking towards towards Socrates and Twink, just like whispering, Lotus.
She's a solid 10 to 15 feet in front of you, almost to them. She is not hearing you or slowing down.
He continues.
Okay.
Let's just stand. How tall is Socrates?
About 5'9".
Okay. She looks up and just kind of like pokes his ear from behind.
Can I pull it now, considering it is proximity?
I mean, you again.
Okay,
the scent tells you, like, you know, you just got touched.
So
Just pokes it twice and is like, "Oh."
So Socrates kind of swats at his ear and kind of grabs at the air because it feels like a hand just touched him, and he's concerned.
There's nothing there.
And he goes, "Did you? No, you couldn't. Something touched my ear." Then
It wasn't me.
yeah, he's just kind of stammering to himself. He's like, "Something touched me, and I don't like being touched
Just
randomly."
gonna tap the other ear.
And he swats at it again.
On the second tap, the moment you feel a second tap, with both your passive awareness and your understanding of magic, you figure there's probably something invisible touching you.
And he turns around, and I assume this touch is coming from the back.
Yeah, back of your
I'm
ear.
behind you.
So he kind of whips around and goes, "You can show yourself. You're not clever."
Dolus, would Dolus have caught up by now since he was
Dolus
almost
would be
15
about 4 feet away now.
He's just like, "Oh, hello."
Go ahead.
He's just like standing there awkwardly, doesn't say anything.
Hello.
Were you
Um,
touching me?
he has this realization. He's like, "Fuck." Yes. Sorry, that was me. I was just very
What are you, a
interested.
mage
I
hand
haven't
user? You're
seen-
quite far from me.
Well, yes, I am slightly skilled in the magics, and he like rubs his hand.
Roll
Would-
deception on the. I was not the one touching you.
No, he said he was.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And roll deception on the. I was the one touching you.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I mixed that. I got that backwards.
That is a
Right
13.
in my brain. That's a 13.
Yeah.
I think both Twink and Socrates.
Yeah,
know.
Twink and Socrates both know that that's not true at all, and you're clearly very uncomfortable.
Twink's gonna make an investigation check on this person.
Roll.
That's actually not bad because his investigation is good. That is
I am
a
a chaos
17
bringer.
total.
17 total.
I am a chaos bringer to Dolus.
Ooh. Against your see. That would be. Ian, I have a question for you because
Yeah, what's up?
minor illusion. Spell save DC. What would that be?
Should be intelligent,
That's what I
Minor
thought.
illusion. He's doing disguise.
but he's doing disguise self.
Oh,
it's different.
he's doing disguise self. I'm sorry.
which I
Wait. Nope, it's the same. So, but it's the spell save DC, which is charisma for warlocks. What'd you roll?
17.
You can tell that he is definitely not who he looks like. There is definitely magic that is altering his appearance.
Twink's gonna walk up to Dolus. He's gonna put his hand on his beard and Look at him.
Socrates is also going to walk forward and take a direct step toward what I assume is where Lotus is currently occupying.
Lotus is directly between you and Dolus.
Yeah, so he
You
takes
turned
a,
completely around, and she was there, and Dolus is there.
yeah,
Yeah.
so he's walking directly forward.
So he
Almost,
bumps in.
yeah, he's walking directly forward. What happens, right?
Yeah, what does Lotus do? There is
Step back. It's just
he
like,
Did she make the noise?
a very small noise.
You, with your heightened werewolf senses, immediately hear something 1 foot in front of you.
And he claps his shoulder down. Or he
Or
claps,
claps
his
a hand down on her shoulder.
No.
Oh, yeah. You just feel hair
as soon as
Feathers?
Dolus sees that he like put his hand down, he will immediately go and grab his hand and like lift it, just out of instinct.
And he looks down at the invisible space that he definitely felt occupied and goes, "Well, hello there. And who might you be?"
I think we should take this conversation somewhere else.
I quite agree.
Lotus is going to duck and try to like sneak away to the side.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. You can do that. That's fine, you can-
And then Dolus lets down his accent. He's like, "Yes, I think we might should." That wasn't a sentence, but you know what I mean.
Yes, I think we might should. That's a sentence.
Taking a look around, is there somewhere private that we could have just a little conversation?
Maybe like an alley or like behind
like
a
the
wall.
I kind of just sent the
behind a
guard
bunch of
into the alley.
Crates, near an alley, further away from the guard, like south, because he went north.
Yeah, I just wherever perceptibly we would notice somewhere.
So first thing you would notice, you'd head over by a bunch of crates and barrels near one of the biggest ships. It's sort of like a tall stack, so being on the south side of it, you're clear from like the harbor master tower and where you know that there are guards. And if that's good with all of you, that's the place you'd meet first.
Good with me.
Okay, that's where you go.
Twink's gonna look at Dolus and so what do you actually look like?
What's
Has
it
it
to
been
you?
almost an hour?
Has it been an hour since we left our house?
It has probably been about 45 to 50 minutes since you left your house.
So you got a little bit more time. And so Dolus is just like, "What's it to you?"
I mean, it's nothing to me. I was just curious.
Well, that is not information I'm willing to disclose to someone who I don't know.
I'm poking
Is
the
Lotus
back
poking?
of. I'm poking his ears again. It's like
Oh, just by the way, Twink also has pointy ears. They're just crooked.
Oh, pointy ears.
So who's she poking?
Yeah.
She's gonna poke a bit.
Is she
for
is
him.
she just swapping? You both feel periodic little tippy taps on your ears.
Okay.
Almost like
okay.
somebody's doing tiny little drumsticks.
So you don't want to disclose what you look like. Can you at least tell me who your friend is?
He
She's like, oh shit. She doesn't swear yet.
They both like point right at like Twink points right at you because you keep touching him. So he gets an idea of where in the space you are.
Dolus just kind of lowers his head and just, "Get behind me."
I have no ill intention towards your friend. I just want to
We're
know
not
what your
going-
plans are.
I don't know that.
Lotus is gonna.
You're more than welcome to fill us out if you want. I just want to know what your plans are.
We're not going to hurt you. And Socks, who actually has his quarterstaff attached to the back of his bag, takes it out and drops it to his side.
Can I pick it up?
Also, Twink has no weapons, so you wouldn't feel
I want to
super
He's a gnome.
intimidated.
He's a gnome.
Dolus just keeps going like, "No, stop." Just like at the empty space like behind him. And he's like, "Me and my companion here are trying to leave this place."
Well, you don't exactly look like you need to be going anywhere other than the fact that you're using magic in plain sight.
Lotus is going to get on all fours and reach over and grab like the end of the quarterstaff and slowly drag it towards
Does
herself.
Socks notice his quarterstaff moving?
Socks's passive perception is good enough that he notices the moment his quarterstaff starts dragging itself
He
slowly
kind of
on the
pivots his
ground.
ankle and puts his foot down on it.
As Dolus sees it move, he kind of like reaches down to like where her shoulder would be and just like pulls her up and just like has his hand on her shoulder.
See, you miss because you think you know where her shoulder's gonna be, but her hand was under that, and Socks just put his foot on it, so her hand and
under
her
it?
is now pinned to the ground.
Yeah, she was on all fours as well.
I see.
I'm like, her hand is now kind of pinched, sort of roughly to the floor.
And he looks down at the invisible, because I got her hand, correct? Or did I just...
You put your foot on the staff, but the way she would have grabbed the staff, you pinned her hand under it.
And he looks down and goes, You can dismiss that. We know you're there.
You just feel taps on your foot. Really, really frantic, tiny taps.
Would Dolus be able to, like, see, like, would he know from seeing what is on the ground happening right now that her hand is being pinned?
He'd also know pretty well because he's still the one concentrating on keeping her invisible.
Mm-hmm. Well, no, I'm just saying, would he know that her hand is currently being, like, pinched?
Yes, the staff is at an angle with nothing supporting it.
Dolus just says very sternly, "Move your foot."
Now.
And
no need
and
to
let
be
go.
rude.
He like, yeah.
He picks
go
his
ahead.
foot up.
And
So
then
I
he,
I
Go
assume
ahead.
based on the fact that she, or whoever,
You'd recognize it's a feminine voice and smell.
yeah, that she is not the one controlling whether or not she is visible right now.
that might be true.
So feel free to go ahead and dismiss any of this, and we can have a conversation.
Well, I
You
can't
two are
really
looking
do
to
that.
escape.
Can't really do that in this city. We would stand out a lot more than you, if I may just say that. We have extra limbs.
It's quite all right. I understand. Would you at least care to introduce yourself? I am Socrates in shoes.
Socks.
What?
He just kind of goes, shh. And he Dolus then extends his hand and just like, he doesn't shake it, but he just like grasps it, Dolus, and lets go.
And your little friend here?
Lotus.
A pleasure
He was
to
go-
meet you, Lotus.
He was like about to open his mouth to say like a fake name, but she interrupted. He's like, yes, that's.
And she said it like full volume, like excited
Yeah.
to introduce herself, like
No-
Lotus.
Noticing this this exchange, he looks down at her, or where he assumes she still is, and goes, "It's a pleasure to meet you, Lotus."
I like your ears.
Thank you. I was born with them.
Dolus will then look to Twink and be like, and you?
Oh, my name's Twink.
And then he just like kind of nods. He's
I like
well,
your ears too.
Yes, I noticed.
So
So
he's Dolus then goes, so about getting out of here, you two don't seem like you would belong in this town either. Do you
Well-
think that you have a way out?
Well, I guess my first question is, what's your reasoning for being here in the first place?
Well, I don't really have a home. I've been wandering, let's just say, and I ended up here just the other night. I was staying in an abandoned home a couple blocks down.
Okay. So,
Lotus, you'd probably feel a little weird about him saying you have no home. That sentence hits a little weird.
Dolus.
Not now.
You're good, Ian. You're good.
so what are you looking for? You looking for a new home, or are you looking for temporary asylum?
Well, I am looking for shelter. We arrived here, and a day in, we were told that we're not welcome anymore. So,
Welcome to the Empire.
That seems to be what all of us are facing nowadays, and I used to work for it.
Dolus hears that, and he like kind of furrows his brow. He's like, "You used to work for them."
It's been about a year. I used to be a professor of high magic.
I see.
He can do magic too. And Lotus kind of like tugs on Dolus's sleeve.
He's not the only one.
More magic users. It's like the boats.
And this is why we need to leave. This place
Yeah,
isn't
does-
safe for us, and I am quite aware of who is coming, and he will not be merciful.
before the conversation can continue much further, there's a really loud whistle from one of the boats, and you hear shouting about heaving and cast off, and you start seeing a few of the smaller boats are leaving, especially ones on the edge. Seems like all the fishermen are definitely getting back out for the afternoon.
Dolus,
Yes.
it's been almost an hour.
Dolus just kind of looks at them. Is like, you keep walking around this point that I'm making. How are you planning on leaving?
I think you should just stick with us.
And when
How old are
will
you,
you be
son?
leaving? How old am I?
Because I assume his disguise actually does look fairly young.
His disguise looks about what his age would be in human years.
So human years.
So he like mid-20s.
Oh, okay. I would say that's 8.
Yeah,
He's
no,
a
he's
5'9" child.
I guess the proper phrase would be Aarakocra years. Yeah,
Mhm.
He looks like he'd be about 25.
Which I guess to Socks would still be quite young.
I mean,
Yeah.
Socks is a
Socks is
300-year-old high elf.
359,
So
I
yeah,
think.
it's anyone under the age of 50 is an infant to Socks.
And so Dolus is just, when he asks, he's about as old as I look.
And he looks him up and down, takes his best guess, and goes, "You're not quite used to anything that I am. I do think Twink is right. I think it might be best if you come with us. We can help you."
How long will it take to leave?
That we're not quite sure of, but we know where to go in order to no longer be in watching eyes.
I understand. And so then,
I trust them. They have pointy ears.
that's not a sign of trusting. And so can just, I mean, you know, for like when they both say like, oh, you know, you should stick with us, Dolus will do an insight check on both of them.
Yeah, go ahead.
That is an unnatural 20.
At the same
Hey!
moment though, I want Socks to kind of take a long, kind of whiff of air, and again, we're gonna insight through smell.
You're gonna insight through smell now that you know they're there.
Both of them.
Okay, roll.
Okay.
So while you're rolling that, Dolus, there's no real ill intent from either of them. They both seem suspicious, but mostly concerned.
That would be a 23, by the way.
They seem like you could trust them. 23?
17 plus 5.
It smells an awful lot like pigeon. Also, your math is wrong. It's still successful, and it smells an awful lot like pigeon, but also your math is wrong.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, you're definitely adding 7
I'm dumb.
when you should
I'm
add
dumb.
5.
No, I was adding 6.
Oh,
We're
well, there you
both
go.
wrong.
Both of your math is wrong. Thank
But
God
I
this
knew
isn't a game
math
of
was-
math.
I knew math was wrong, though.
Anyway. And he just goes... And he takes that information and just goes, "Just come with us, and then I have some questions for you."
And so Dolus, knowing that Lotus's invisibility won't last for very much longer, he goes, "Well, first here is the introductions you were hoping for." And he lets go of his disguised self and the invisibility on Lotus at the same time.
Okay. So you're not necessarily hidden away. You're in sort of an area where most passerby won't see you super well, but people are still around and can see you. So they suddenly watch as this sort of bigger, raggedy-looking, like 25-year-old man fades away into this almost magic dust that falls off of the shoulders and wings of an Aarakocra. Did I just mispronounce that? Did I just butcher that?
No, that's the
No,
Aarakocra.
that's it. Okay. I'm like, and at the same time, as this man morphs into a bird person, suddenly there is a second one who just appears out of thin air. You get you startle a woman walking by so bad she squeaks and rushes the other direction. And then you're immediately disregarded because there's too much other shit going on.
And Socks is very...
Dolus,
Go ahead.
no, I was gonna say Dolus like puts down his disguised self, and then after hearing and seeing the woman, he just looks, what's it called? He looks Socrates in the eyes, and then he puts it back up. He's like, don't want to draw too much attention. And then he takes off.
Oh, go
Oh,
ahead.
go ahead.
I'm so sorry. No, you go ahead.
And so then I was gonna say actually before he puts it back up, he takes off his coat, but when he puts the disguised self back up, he still looks the same, but just now that if someone were to touch, they would like, it wouldn't feel natural, like their hand would like phase in where the coat would be, and he kind of throws his coat onto Lotus. He's like, cover up.
And Socks gets very excited because he has heard of Aarakocras and that they are from the elemental plane of air, whom he has never interacted with any creatures of this type before. I believe.
You would have just interacted with Ganassi, who are also from the elemental planes, but not the same way that like Aarakocra are and stuff.
Yeah. So like he gets very excited. He goes, and Cocras, that's brilliant. I have so many questions. I mean, I've studied your kind, and they're beautiful and absolutely just.
That is very nice, sir. You can ask me all of those questions on the boat as we're leaving this town, please.
Right. Anyway, Twink. Shall we go? I have so many questions.
Well, I couldn't say where the man was pointing. You're gonna have to take a ship.
That's right, and here we go. And so he like Socks.
As you guys are heading southern, in the southern direction of the harbor towards the boat, you start to hear big, loud horn. In the city, it's clearly not okay. There's some kind of commotion going on. You can hear it even all the way down in the loud harbor. Generally gonna probably give you a pretty solid sense of urgency. They sound almost like war horns.
Are we going to play hide and seek again, or?
Not right now. Just put the hood up. They won't be able to see you. You'll be hiding.
And Socrates puts his hand on Dolus's back and is like, we should go now.
That's what I've been saying.
And he kind of, he's almost at a running pace, like more along the lines of like a light jog to try and get over to where.
It's a dead sprint for their gnome, so.
Yeah.
Dolus is grabbing Lotus's hand and is like pulling her along.
Lotus is following.
So, as you get towards the last dock, you start to see a collection of mishmashed kind of people of all sorts of different races. Some of them are even human, but they're clearly uncomfortable. They're probably raggedy. They look like they're sort of outcasts. They're all unreliables at this dock. And as you approach, they're all shouting and struggling, and you hear a voice, really gruff voice in the back of the crowd, just, "Come down! Come down! I have to take you a few at a time. I can't load you all on it once. You'll tip the whole bunch over." And as you approach the crowd, you see this really raggedy-looking sailor, curled hair all out to crazy. He's missing an eye, and he does not have an eye patch for it. He is just kind of hunched over, but he's still moving. He's still going good. And the ship that you're coming upon is a 3-masted, beautiful galleon. It looks like it was freshly made. It's gorgeous. And on the side of it, in bright letters, is the fog slip.
Would I recognize this man as Harmon?
You don't know what Harmon looks
I didn't get a description of him from Fairmont.
No, you were told to look. Yeah, you told to look for Harmon. That's all you got.
It's a boat.
It's a boat.
Dolus, it's a boat. Dolus, it's a boat.
Yes, it's a
I
boat.
could try to sneak my way to the front. I'm sure I could get underneath everybody.
It's best I come with you. That man may be our Harmon, and he may recognize my friend's name, Fairmont. If you think you can get up there faster, feel free to go up there and make your introductions for us.
So your friend's name was Fairmont. How does he know Harmon?
I couldn't tell you if I'd be honest.
How do you know him?
Fairmont? How do I know Fairmont?
You taught him.
He was one of my students back in the day.
Before he was an old man.
Yeah. He's quite old now.
Okay. Well, I believe you should come with me then. What about those? You think they could make it through the crowd?
Actually, I have a better idea. You stay with them, and not Monty. Socrates is going to use Misty Step to jump to the front of the crowd.
Dangerous.
Risque, I like it. Let me read over Misty Step again real quick to make sure I don't fuck this up. Yeah. You just are next to Harmon now. You just swoop next to this captain man. The moment you appear on the left side that has no eye, so he does not react at all.
And he goes, "Are you Harmon?"
Hey! Don't sneak up on me like that! I don't wear the eye patch so it's clear!
I'm sorry, it was quite hard to tell from the distance I was at. My name is Socrates. Fairmont sent me, and I may have procured a few other.
Fairmont sent ya!
Correct, I taught him when he was quite a bit younger now.
Kind of staring off into nothing as the crowd is all shouting. He like completely spaces out from them and he's like, I knew Fairmont when he was a long-yard young lad. Word. You! And he like points to you, but he's not pointing to you because he has no depth perception. Kind of pointing past you.
Oh, I was hoping he would just kind of almost like
That's a
tap me on the
perfect thing
nose.
for a captain.
Yeah.
And he goes,
To not have depth perception.
and he goes, so Fairmont sent you.
Correct.
Just you.
He did just send me, but I have procured. Well, I guess to me they would be children, but they need a place to go.
To pointy-eared ones such as yourself, we're all children. I'm damn near in the grave, and I'm a child. Don't you think I look childish?
Yes, the epitome of youth.
Kieran, you are at the front of the crowd with Rook, and you watch Socks appear in front of you. So you're now watching him have this conversation with the captain, who Rook was just trying to convince to let them on board.
Was Rook seeming to have like any like difficulty trying to convince?
Oh yeah, he was not getting anywhere. Apparently Harmon knows Rook and they're not friends.
I'll kind of like recognizing him. I'll try and like saddle up like closer to like behind him and just like passively watching, and I like whisper over to Rook. So, what do you reckon? What do you reckon the kind of like spirit around here is? Do you think there's anything we can kind of
Looks like-
trade for almonds?
To be honest with you,
Hmm.
I could not tell you what this geezer wants.
You know,
He
reckon
once
it's-
asked me for a cask of mead, and when I brought it to him, he lit it on fire and called me a shithead.
That's certainly an interesting type. I don't think I could bargain with him then.
Basically, I came here to check if he was in a good mood, and if he was, we'd have been sold. And if he wasn't, I'd have thrown you up on the ship, punched him into the ocean, and we'd have taken it ourselves.
And you reckon that... How close do you think we are to that happening?
Well, I mean, he's about 4 feet in front of me, so about 4 feet.
I think I'll give it another few minutes. I don't dislike your plan though.
If I see a guard, I'm killing this man.
And would I have heard the conversation they were having?
Yeah. They're like 5 feet in front of you.
Looking around, I like look for the because I'll look for the little gnome fella. I didn't get it.
Okay.
Good luck finding the 2-foot-tall person.
Yeah, I'm like looking. I realize I couldn't see him, so I'm looking at people's feet. Essentially, I look like I'm trying to steal somebody's shoes. So,
Yeah, he's at the back of the crowd. You don't see shit.
ugh.
You don't see. You're just staring at everybody's feet. And also, you are not paying attention to the conversation that Sox is now having.
Okay.
But yeah, so Harmon, gotta get back in my Harmon. Gotta hunch over a little.
Close one eye.
It goes, "Fair, Monsignor. You can't be that bad. Do you know how to run a ship?"
Not a clue. I've had experience with a few dinghies.
You're perfect! The last time I had a crew who knew how to run a ship, they stabbed out me eye and took my boat.
Sounds quite alright, and I...
You wanna know the best part?
What?
I took the boat back. I couldn't get the eye back.
I see now why Fairmont was a friend of yours.
The crowd starts kind of pushing forward a little, and with the reflexes of a fucking cat, Harmon pulls a fucking revolver out of his jacket and points it at the nearest dude's face and goes, "You come another step towards my beautiful gem, and you'll never step again." And I personally like doing lots of steps. And he spins the revolver really dexterously and puts it in his vest.
And Socrates turns back to Harmon and goes, Would it be alright if my companions came?
Do your companions know how to run a boat?
No, 2 of them are birds. And 1 is a gnome.
I suppose birds can run a boat.
1 of them is a child.
Oh, I don't think children birds can. All right. I think you're pretty nice. Nice. I have lice. You'll want to be cautious of that.
Noted. And
the conversation is immediately broken by another much closer horn, and the crowd immediately starts pushing. Crew that is already on deck pulls muskets out and points them down at the crowd.
and Sox immediately goes, Okay, and he casts Minor Illusion at about 2'9", in the spot where he's almost positive he came from his Misty Step. And goes,
Okay.
Bring the kids. Come.
Okay.
Imagine. Well, you heard the man. We better make our way up there.
I don't know if Minor Illusion works like that. I just assume sound.
You can make a
is
sound.
Also sentence.
You can make sound. You're good.
Okay.
Can we fly?
No.
I don't recommend it.
Okay.
And I'll start kind of pushing my way through the crowd.
Dolus just kind of like keeps holding Lotus's hand. He's like, keep very close.
Just as you know, my way of pushing through the crowd isn't getting your way of pushing through the crowd.
Yeah, no.
So,
yeah,
so their legs are moving to the sides for me, but their shoulders are still kind of blocking your path.
Yeah. So Twink's getting through really fine. Most of them aren't moving because they have guns pointed at them. But they're not really wanting to let you through.
Can we fly?
Everybody wants on this boat.
he just Dolus like kind of crouches down and he goes, "Twink,
Alright,
how
you
am I
having
supposed to
issues?
get through?"
Well, that's a great question. What can you do?
Dolus stands up and he just kind of starts walking. It almost seems like he's walking away from the crowd, but he just goes to a slightly more open area, and then Lotus asks him where they're going. Is up now, and so Dolus will begin flying, just flies up above the crowd and
Lotus
towards
very
the front.
excitedly flies up as well.
All the muskets suddenly aim up at the bird person as they take off, but Harmon immediately goes, "No! The bird!"
Lotus is going to fly over to Socks and land very neatly beside him.
Dolus just kind of plops down.
I imagine
He goes-
a few seconds later, I come pushing through the legs of the group.
And so Harmon goes, "So it is them then? Well, I mean, that's those two is thems."
This is Lotus, Dolus, and Twink. They are very kind and, might I say, quite resourceful from what I've seen already.
I don't remember my own names most mornings, but I think I'll try my best with yours. Lolis and Doots and Mr. Stockin. He looks really, kindly up at Socks. Goes, "Now get on the boat before I shoot you."
And he kind of almost herds both Dolus and Lotus inside.
Dolus kind of reacts to his hand and continues.
So as he herds them up, I kind of turn around because I'm sure with my passive investigation,
You would have noticed you walked
past Kieran.
Right past Kieran, yeah.
And I would have pointed.
I was
and said,
looking for him.
I would have pointed. I would have
Yeah,
said,
you would have watched as he walked past you in front of the crowd.
"Yeah, that one's with us too."
And Socrates turns around and goes,
Oh yeah, friend.
"What are you doing?"
Well, you worry about you. I'll worry about me.
Harmon kind of sits there and goes, "That one came up with Bishop. My name's Rook. Rook. You've known me since I was 12, you old goat."
Well, personally, I don't know that one, but I know the other one.
Points at
All
Kieran and goes,
drinking
"You!
buddies.
Do you know this one?" And he points at Rook.
Oh, he's asking me?
Yeah.
I've only known him for about 4 minutes. So
Rook
not really.
looks at you super fucking offended. He looks at you super fucking offended and angry. And Harmon goes, "Get on the boat! Go!
And I
Run. You leave Rook
Skedaddles.
just shocked and pissed off.
I assume Kieran kind of blows past both me and Twink.
I would have appreciated Twink, and I was like, thanks. Well, I said we were friends, but I can make that true.
Oh, we'll talk about it later.
Yeah.
So you're all getting up on the deck of the ship really quick. Harmon starts to follow you up, and as he starts to follow you up, the crowd gets really riled again. And Rook comes up and he's like, "I'm not letting this boat leave without..." And he's mid-sentence. Harmon turns around and plugs a bullet between his eyes. And he falls into the ocean between the dock and the ship.
What is that thing?
Socrates turns to Twink and goes,
So,
"I would say that if that other one becomes a problem, you take care of him. But I think Harmon will do it before we have the chance to look at him."
and I'm looking in that ocean, and I'm looking at Harmon, and it's like, aye, Captain.
Harmon turns around and goes, "That boy Rock always did love to swim."
He looked like he sunk like a rock too.
And he climbs up and he hooks his foot into the gangplank as he gets to the top of it and just heaves it onto the deck in one little movement. And he goes, "Aye, we're burning daylight. Let's go. We gotta outrun an entire army." And then he goes, Smells like the wind's going wrong direction. Points to your group and he goes, you lot,
Magic
you said you don't know how to run a boat.
Not a clue.
Who told you that?
He looks down at Twink and goes, you know how to run a boat!
Nope. I'm just curious who told you that.
And he goes, to be honest with you, I can't remember who told me. I think it was the little one.
I'm the little one.
Yar!
I love this man.
And he just completely, immediately disregards you and heads over to the helm, where he shoves his helmsman out of the way and grabs onto the mast as the sails unfurl. And the ship starts to make its way out of the harbor.
Certainly style.
The magic boat is moving. Dolus,
Yes.
the magic
Seems
boat.
to be. It seems to be.
It's not magic. It's science.
What science?
Like magic.
Magic science.
How old is your... And he kind of trails off because he's not sure of the relation between Dolus and Lotus.
Mm-hmm. He just called her a companion earlier.
Yeah.
God, she put up 2 fingers.
2.
Almost.
Almost?
Almost.
A almost 2-year-old Aarakocra. You and you are probably in your 20. Why did you take this child out so far, especially to a completely different plane?
She's my sister.
Right. And how exactly did you end up on this plane?
That's not something I am willing to tell you right now.
Well, for now, I'd say this is the safest we've been in days.
You're a couple hundred feet out into the harbor when you start hearing lots of shouts and screams coming from where you just came from. And as you are a solid distance away from the dock now, fairly safe, you look back and there's just a massive amount of guards moving on the harbor, led by a man in big silver armor with this massive great helm that has these like fucking golden spikes out of the top. And Sox would immediately recognize that that's Atronon.
Sox can feel himself almost get immediately angry. Because I assume that, like, would he have known Atronon even as a person?
No, like he would have known Atronon was a general, and like he would have heard lots about him because he lived and worked in the main capital, but he wouldn't know him personally. He'd just be a dude he'd probably seen in passing.
And he just kind of sighs, partially in frustration, and goes, how the Empire has fallen.
So, where are you all situated on the ship? I want to ask real quick.
Having seen Hammond just like basically chuck this man overboard, I would keep a respectable distance from Hammond and go to the other.
So you're
like,
at the front. You're at the
starboard.
front of the ship, far away from the helm.
Oh yes,
Got
but
it.
and just like looking out, and it's like, he's an intimidating man, and I think I'm good over here.
Okay.
Lotus would
and
be
just-
on the other. Sorry, Lotus would be on the other side, away from the harbor, just looking into the ocean, just super excited.
Okay.
Mm.
The other three of you? I mean, you were just having a conversation, so.
Mm-hmm. I guess
assuming
they're
you're in
all
a
just
similar
kind of,
little like cluster near the middle.
Mhm.
I would probably be sitting up against the mat.
So you all take a moment to kind of reflect in the peace of like you just escaped that. Whatever's happening there with the screaming and the crying and the guy who looks like he with a thought. You're all sort of relaxing at peace, and you all take a moment to look away from the harbor at the ocean in front of you. When you hear from far above you, Captain! They're in pursuit! And the whole crew rushes to the sides of the deck to look back and see a skiff covered in soldiers taking off after your galleon.
Well, that doesn't seem
What's the
welcoming.
skiff made of?
The skiff?
Yeah.
It's wood. It's a ship.
There are people following us, Dolus.
That's not good.
Oh,
They are why we left.
do I give them the butt back?
No,
Boop.
not yet.
Okay.
Harmon immediately is like, I knew I shouldn't have sold me cannons for the rum. And someone next to him goes, sir, you didn't buy rum, you bought jars of pickles. And he goes, it stings just the same when you pour it in the wounds. And he
Dolus
goes,
kind of takes his robe off of Lotus and like swings it over himself and like ties it around, and then he's just like like he's
above
just very
you,
intense.
You hear the same voice that called out that they're in pursuit. They're gaining mighty fast, sir. Their ship's a lot lighter than ours. And Harmon goes, at least I didn't sail the muskets. Ready up, crew.
No, not yet.
And as the skiff pursues you and the entire crew readies for combat and you pull out of the harbor, that is where we are going to end our session.
Woo!
Whoa.
Jesus Christ.
That was
that
y'all were
good?
doing
Okay.
good.
Hell yeah.
At one point, I forgot I was here and just started watching. I was like, oh, and then Cryo was like, Kieran. I was like, oh yeah, huh?
Like, Kieran's
playing.
Oh yeah, what would he do? I haven't been thinking about it at all.
No,
Right.
I spent all my time like, wait, why am I? What would I do? Oh,
He's like, Kieran, what are you doing? Az is like, yeah, no, I can't wait to see what Kieran does.
Wait, I'm Kieran.
my thought is, what would Kieran do? Why would
What would
Kieran do?
WWKD? What would
Why
Kieran
would
do?
Kieran do?
Let Kieran
That
take the wheel.
was so good.
That was
Hell
really
yeah.
So, I'm gonna be real. Oh,
and props to the DM.
I was really
That was okay, I guess.
I was really tempted to throw y'all into combat there, but we would have been here for like 2 more hours.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us for this first lovely session of We Don't Have a Name.
I forgot a terrible detail that I want that you all would have noticed and been notably aware of that I completely forgot in my mind. Standing at the top of the skiff, standing at the bow, is Atronaut.
Oh,
I'll go fuck myself then.
what do you reckon that
Fun.
hell mistress for show?
Okay. Thank you, everybody, so much for joining us. I guess this will be posted every Monday. We'll say Monday, and I'm just not going to release these for a few weeks, so we have a few.
There you go.
So it's
Hell
always
yeah.
every Monday.
This was so much fun. It was so much fun playing with y'all. I'm so very excited for you all to enjoy this campaign, which will henceforth be referred to as the Starlost Seas.
Yes.
Love to see it.
Tired.
Yay.
So, if you guys enjoyed, make sure to subscribe. Come see us. Check out everybody's links below. And we'll see you next time. Peace.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.